Do you know anybody who hasn't had a bad boss? I'm gonna go ahead and guess the answer is no. Because managing, at least as we typically think about it, is incredibly difficult. So in this video, we're gonna talk about the concepts of management, leadership, and coaching, how those all intertwine, and how you can leverage that to get better results for yourself and your organization. And at the end, I'm going to throw in some bonus tips that will help you improve your management, leadership, and coaching skills. So let's dive in. According to the great and powerful Google, management is the process of dealing with or controlling people or things. Now let's dive into that a little bit deeper, and specifically those words dealing with and controlling. Now, do you like to be dealt with or controlled? I know I don't, and I don't think most other people do either. But that's how we look at the concept of management in most organizations. It's all about telling people what to do and how to do it. And that is incredibly expensive, time-consuming, and it's just not a lot of fun. But there are other elements of management that will give you a lot more bang for your buck. Things like designing compensation systems, or hiring and firing people, or creating an organizational structure. These are all things that we call transformational, because you do them once and then you get the results for a long period of time. But managing people in the sense that we typically think about it, telling them what to do, telling them how to do it, that's what we call transactional. And that means that every time you have an interaction, you have to pay for that interaction, and you only get a short period of results. It's kind of like going to the gas station and filling your car up with gas. Every time you run out of gas, you got to go get more gas. You have to have that transaction, you have to pay for that. Whereas, let's say you were to buy an electric car with a solar panel on the roof. You can drive around, you come home, you park it, it starts to take care of itself, it refuels itself. So buying that car, yes, there's a larger initial investment, but then it starts to pay you back over time and you don't have to interact with it as much. Now, the key difference between the transactional items and the transformational items is that the transactional items focus on managing people, and the transformational items focus on managing the system. Now, I believe, as a manager, your primary responsibility should be creating a system that optimizes your long-term results. In other words, your primary responsibility is not to make sure people do their day-to-day jobs. It's to make sure that you create the right system that encourages those right behaviors. But as you start to switch from that transactional people management to that transformational system management, you're going to start to create some gaps, because people benefit from encouragement and development and assistance in that process. And this is where coaching comes in. Coaching is kind of like a developmental form of management. Now, managers and coaches will both take a degree of responsibility for the outcomes of the people they're managing or coaching. The difference is that the coach takes the approach of guiding the person to learning how to make better decisions, while the manager will just say, this is the decision you need to make, or they'll be the approver, or they'll just make the decision on their own. But in the coaching scenario, the person who's being coached retains ownership over that decision. This has some incredibly powerful implications for organizations. And by the way, an organization is not just a business. It could be a nonprofit, it could be a church, it could be a family, it could be a sports team. Anything where people come together and people interact can be an organization. And one of the biggest challenges organizations have is creating ownership, getting people to take responsibility. But let's go back to that coaching concept where the person being coached is responsible for making the decision. But in management, if somebody else is responsible for making the decision, you are inherently taking away that person's ownership. And then we wonder why people don't take ownership. It's because it's built into the system when you use traditional management techniques. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to manage the system, we're going to coach the people, and we're going to lead by example. So leadership literally means to be the first and to get others to follow. Now, in order to be a good leader, you have to have a clear idea of where you want to go. That's going to inspire more people to follow, and it has to be a good place to go. There's plenty of examples throughout history where people have had massive followings, but they weren't for a good purpose. They didn't have a good, strong, positive intent. So as a leader, you need that strong, positive intent, you need that clarity on where you want to go, and you need to be able to get people to follow. So this is different than management. In management, you're designing that system. In coaching, you are developing others. But in leadership, you are setting that direction and you are getting other people to come on board. Now, I think it's important to point out here that none of these have to be a job title. But a lot of times it does make sense for a manager to hold a specific position because it can create a lot of clarity around who owns a certain piece of the process, which can help accelerate things. And a coach oftentimes has a very specific skill set. It's something that takes a long time to build up. And so they may have a specific title as a coach. But for a leader, I'm not a big fan of having a job title of leader. For instance, the term team lead. It implies that that person is responsible for all of the decisions. It implies that they are more of a traditional manager. But the truth is that on the best teams that I've ever worked with, leadership shifted fluidly. This is one of the reasons that I actually have a little bit of mixed feelings about calling the senior management or the C-suite or the executive team senior leadership. So now that we understand that we're going to manage the system, we're going to coach and develop the people, and we are going to lead by example, I'm going to give you a few tips that will help you be better at all three of these. Number one is clarity. Clarity is the first step in any sort of success. If you know where you want to go, you are infinitely more likely to get there. Clarity is absolutely necessary if you want to be a good manager or a good leader. In order to create a system that's going to optimize your results, you need to know what you're optimizing for. And in a leadership position, if you're going to lead people somewhere, you need to know where it is that you're going, because if you don't know where you're going, you can't assess if that's a good place or not. And the clearer you are about where you want to go, the more likely you're going to be able to get people to follow you. What I've found is that the more clarity I have, it gives me more passion, which is our point number two. Energy in nature, this is science, this is physics, this is not something supernatural. Energy flows from high to low. We go from hot to cold. This is how our cars work. Energy builds up, it has to escape. This is how nature works. Energy flows from high to low. And when we have passion, we have energy. And that energy is going to flow into other people. It's going to make us a better manager, even if it's of a system and not of people. It's going to make us a better coach. It's going to make us a better leader. Tip number three is compassion. People are going to be way more likely to respond to us if we care about their well-being. If you're a manager, if you're a coach, if you're a leader, if you're just a person in general, if you're compassionate, if you care about people and do things for their well-being, they're going to respond better to you. So if you connected with something in this video, I would love it if you would help us get the word out. Because the more we spread this message, the faster we're going to adopt these practices, and that's going to make the world a better place for you. It's going to make a better place for your family. It's going to make a better place for me. It's going to make a better place for everybody. So you guys already know about those like and subscribe buttons, but the more you comment, the more you share this on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you like to share, the faster this message will spread. If you'd like to learn more about concepts like these, you can check out some of our other videos, which I'll throw up on the screen. And until next time, thanks for watching.